Welcome. To the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Already we have one objection. The objection is denied. Because we haven't even started yet. Let us see how this one goes. Interesting playing this on with a mouse and keyboard. Cutscene.
The Empire of Japan. After opening its doors, a push for cultural transformation brought great waves of Western influence to this far eastern island nation. The revolution washed over the land, making life in the capital exciting and unsettling. It was a period of great change, and some was swept away by the tide.
He's been murdered.
But for one man, the turbulence of that era was just the beginning of an extraordinary story.
He did it. It was him. Bienvenue à la Carnival. The Adventure of the Great Departure. Apparently so. I still can't believe it. I still can't believe this is happening. How can it be that just beyond the doors to this quiet little chamber is the highest court in Japan, waiting to decide my fate? Ding! What? Oh, no, nothing. Save your glares, murderer. Sorry. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I'm a second-year student at the Imperial Yume University. 3 days ago, I somehow found myself in the middle of a horrifying incident. And now here I am, awaiting my trial. That's enough! He's not obliged to listen to such abuse, officer. And who are you? I'm this man's lawyer. I'll be defending him today. Lawyer? Yes, and until the judge has given his verdict on the case, no one has the right to treat him as a criminal. So you will hold your tongue. Technicalities. Look at you, you haven't even been graduated yet. And yet, I still seem to know better than you how a court officer should behave. Right, Urinosuke. Oh, yes, of course. Sorry. What are you apologizing to me for? Oh, No, I suppose that wasn't my fault. But really, Kazuma, I never meant to drag you into this. I'm sorry. There you go again, apologizing. Just like always. Though I must say, you've been all over the newspapers these past few days. Yume University professor murdered in cold blood by student. But obviously, you didn't actually do it, did you? Of course not! You have to believe me. I didn't do it. I could never murder someone. Then there's nothing to worry about. Straighten yourself up, hold your head high. You mean... I believe you. I know you're innocent, Ryunosuke. Kazuma Asogi, my best friend, also in his second year at Yume University. But he's far more clever than I, a star student in fact. He's even a qualified lawyer. Impressive, considering he's still an undergrad. It's not that impressive. The very concept of lawyers is only a few years old, here in Japan anyway. My qualifications don't mean much. Yet. You said exactly the same thing 3 days ago. But I'm proud to have a friend like you, Kazuma. Truly. 3 days ago. Yes, that's when all this started. Ding! Congratulations, Kazuma. It looks like you're going to get to study abroad at last. I know. I've been forever dreaming of this day. Finally, those government elites have acknowledged my academic achievements and successes in court. So you'll be representing Japan as you immerse yourself in the most sophisticated legal system in the world. I'm really happy for you, and proud as your friend. There's not a soul in the university who doesn't know Kazuma's name. He's a living legend. It's like there's some mysterious aura billowing around his temple. I want to bring about change in our own legal system. That's why I have to cross the ocean to see the real thing with my own eyes. The heart of the British Empire. I wish I could see it too. Then come with me. We'd have a wild time tearing up the streets of Her Majesty's City of London together. If only it were that simple. Oh dear, look at the time. I'd better be going. Alright, I'll see you later. I think I'll stay and enjoy this place a while longer. Good idea. After all, it's not every day you get to visit high-class a Western restaurant like this. See you in English class tomorrow then, partner. And he vanished into thin air. Lol. It was straight after that. That's when it happened. Asugi, may I have a word? I see. Professor, I didn't know you were coming. Well, this case has personal significance to me. But never mind that for now, Asogi. You should go immediately to the judge's chamber. To His Excellency's chambers? Why? He was looking for you before. You advocating for the defense in this trial was a sudden decision. It seems there may be some confusion about procedures today as a result. Who is this man? I feel as though I've seen him at university before. I see. I'll go at once then. I shall accompany you. Alright then. Ryunosuke, I'll see you in the courtroom. Yeah, thanks, Kazuma. This is awkward. If I may? Yes, sorry? You must be the defendant, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, I believe. Yes, that's right. My name is Eugene Mikotama. I'm a professor of forensic medicine at Yume University. Ah, Professor Mikotoma? I've heard that name from Kazuma before. As I recall, he's been pushing to get the government to agree to Kazuma studying abroad. Asogi has told me about you. You and he are best friends, I understand. As such, I feel you should know. Know what? Well, as you've no doubt heard, Asogi has been granted permission to go and study in Great Britain. However, if he should fail to defend you in today's trial, I'm afraid that permission will be revoked, and never granted again. What? As I suspected, you were unaware of this. I had a feeling Asogi may have chosen not to tell you. He agreed to defend me knowing that if I fails, his dreams will be shattered? But I don't understand. Why would the government do such a thing? The administration has to choose from a large number of applicants for overseas study. It's very difficult to persuade them to grant permission, even in the most favorable of circumstances. I don't believe it. But I didn't do it. I swear, I'm not a murderer. I'm sure that's true. Nevertheless, I can assure that proving your innocence will be no easy task. You see, there are certain peculiarities about today's trial. Sorry? What do you mean? You'll soon understand once proceedings get underway. But then what should I do? Well, naturally, I'm not going to suggest doing anything that could lead to a conviction. Right, so as soon as the trial starts, the judge will pose a certain question to the defense. When that happens, you must answer before anyone else. You must say, I do. I do? But what will the question be? Surely not. Do you accept the accusations brought before you? Oh. Okay, never mind. Of course not. Defendant! Court is about to begin. Proceed to the courtroom at once. It would seem our surreptitious discussions are to be cut short. So allow me to summarize. Kazuma Asugi must not be the defense lawyer in this trial. Of course, as the defendant, the final decision is yours. What are you waiting for? Do you want to be found guilty for failing to appear? Get moving, there's no point in anyone advocating for the likes of you anyway. This is it. If this trial goes badly, Kazuma's dreams of studying abroad are over. And what's more, I'll be found guilty of murder. And so, with absolutely no idea of what lay ahead, I embarked on that unforgettable trial. My one and only chance of proving my innocence. The trial that would decide my destiny. It is your destiny. Every time we change location now, I need to say beforehand, say hello to my little friend. So this is a courtroom. His face is just like... The Supreme Court of Judicature? Called it. The Supreme Court of Judicature. No court in the land has more power. I don't much like the look of those people sitting in the public gallery. Lots of military and other uniforms in there. The powers that have been demanded... Hang on. The powers that be have demanded that this be a secret trial. A secret trial? A trial that's closed to ordinary members of the public. Only military and government officials may attend. What? But why? It'll become clear in time. But for now, you need to concentrate, Runosuke. It's about to begin. Of course we have Winston Payne. The court will now hear the trial of Runosuke Naruhodo. The prosecution is ready, Your Excellency. As is the defense. Before we begin, there is one point of order I would like to confirm. Yesterday evening, the defense made a last-minute request for a change of advocate. That's correct, Your Excellency. I made the request myself. Normal procedure is for the defendant's advocacy to be decided 2 days prior to the trial. As this is an unusual circumstance, I am obliged to ask for final confirmation now. Who advocates for the defendant in this trial? This is it. This must be the question. Who's going to defend me? That's the question the professor meant. But then, if I say I do... I need to answer quickly. What should I do? Let's go for it. Why not? Your Excellency, no confirmation is needed. As I'm standing here beside the defendant, I hope it's clear who will advocate for his defense. Yes! Ding! What is the meaning of this unruly outburst? I would like to inform the court that I, Rinosuke Naruhodo, will be defending myself. He will be defending in pro se. You'll be... What? What are you playing at, Rinosuke? Professor Mikotoba told me everything, just now before the trial. He did what? He said that your dreams of studying abroad would be dashed if you were to lose. How sad. It means you don't have faith in me. You think I won't be able to get you off? No, it's not that, really. It's just that... Well, on the off chance that things don't go well for me, I couldn't bear to be the reason that you... Yes. I knew that's how you'd feel, which is exactly why I decided not to tell you. Professor Mikotoba shouldn't have stuck his nose in. Very well. The court hereby recognizes the defendant's desire to advocate for himself in today's trial. Well, well. Does the accused admit defeat already? Renouncing his own counsel? Really?
Objection!
Make no mistake, counsel. This merely shows that the defendant's innocence is so apparent he's confident he can speak for himself. Isn't that so, Naruhodo-san? Oh, yes, exactly. Exactly what I wasn't thinking. I'm not confident at all. In fact, my mind's a complete blank. I realize you're in charge now, but still, try not to look so bewildered. Well, for a mere university student to be brought before the Supreme Court... You must have perpetrated a most heinous crime indeed. As you are no doubt aware, this is the Supreme Court of Judicature of Japan. Accordingly, the very highest standards of conduct are expected of all present. Do I make myself clear, Defendant Naruhodo? Yes, Your Excellency. It is therefore my duty to assess your competence for the task you have undertaken. My competence? What does that mean? It means can you do the job? He's questioning your ability to do the job. Well, he can't be questioning it more than I am. So, let's start with the very simplest of questions. Yes. Kindly state before the court the name of the victim in this case. Well, that's easy enough. I've heard his name more times than I care to remember. But, wait. Uh-oh. I'm so nervous I can't even remember that. What was it again? Rinosuke. Let me guess. Your mind's gone blank. You know me so well. Damn it. All the relevant information for this case can be found in the court record. But I can't even find that. It's simple. You can access the court record with the press of E. If you ever find you've forgotten something, just consult that. It's all in there. I just have to press E for the court record. Alright, there's no time to lose. This is the list of evidence you've collected. Now try switching to people instead with E. You'll find details about the victim in here. When you're done, just press Z to go back. Kazuma Asogi, 23, a second year at the Imperial Yumei University. He's my best friend, and despite being a student, a qualified defense lawyer as well. Yujin Mikotowa, a medical school professor at the Imperial Yumei University. He's an authority in forensic medicine and Kazuma's mentor. Taketsuki Auchi, aka Winston Payne's ancestor. The lead prosecutor of this case, who would appear to have little love for the changes the Cultural Reformation has brought about. Yes. John H. Wilson, the victim of this case. He was a visiting professor of medicine at Yumei University from the British Empire. John Wilson. Yes. Not Watson, yes. So remember, everything to do with the current case can be found in the court record. Now, you'd better not keep His Excellency waiting any longer. Go on. Find the victim in the People's section of the court record, then press R to present. Try it now.
Yes!
Yes! The victim's name was Dr. John H. Wilson. Well, at least you can remember the name of an esteemed member of your own university. Dr. Wilson was a visiting professor from England, invited at Yumei University 3 years ago. Indeed, which is the reason why this case has such profound implications. The British Empire is at present our country's most valuable foreign ally. Jesus. And as most of you will be aware, we have just signed a new treaty together, after lengthy negotiations. There can't be anyone who hasn't heard of the Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation. And yet, despite these delicate circumstances, the blood of an Englishman has been spilt on our soil. You two are both undergraduates at the Imperial Yumei University, are you not? Murdering a professor from the very institution that provides your education. Have you no honor? But I didn't do it. This case is coming under great scrutiny from our allies on the other side of the world. The court therefore wishes for a speedy resolution to this matter. In other words, our feeble government is scared of upsetting England's policymakers. And you're a convenient and expensible scapegoat to blame for this crime. So why is this trial has those... Hang on. So that's why this trial has these unusual peculiarities, is it? Exactly. Our government needs to convict someone as quickly as possible. All because the victim was an Englishman. Yes, Dr. Wilson was an Englishman. But nationalities and treaties won't make it any difference to me here. The fact is, I was there at the scene of the crime. Oh dear, look at the time. I'd better be going. Alright, I'll see you later. I think I'll stay and enjoy this place a little longer. Good idea. After all, it's not every day you get to visit a high-class Western restaurant like this. See you in English class tomorrow then, partner. I wonder who did it. The British Empire. Wow, it's incredible to think. Wait. I've seen that man at university. I'm sure he's a visiting professor from Great Britain. I don't know his name, but still. I should go and say hello. So I went over to the professor's table. and introduce myself to Dr. Wilson. Now then, let me pose my next question to you, Defendant Naruhodo.
Yes, Your Excellency.
How did this Professor of Medicine, Dr. John H. Wilson, lose his life? State before the court the cause of death. Cause of death? Well, obviously, that was, Yunosuke. Remember that in court, every assertion must be backed up by evidence. By evidence? But how? Find the piece of evidence that shows the professor's cause of death and select present. Do it now. No idea. Death occurred a little after 2 p.m. and was caused by loss of blood from a gunshot to the chest. The bullets did not pass through the victim's body. Single bullets fired at close range, fatal hemorrhage from pectoral ballistic trauma. No exit wound. Bullets did not pass through body. That's going to be important later, I'm sure. Take that.
Yes!
Yes, sir. Well, according to this document, the victim suffered a hemorrhagic death due to gunshot trauma. Learn to read, you imbecile! That's the post-mortem report, I take it? Sorry, yes, that's right. The, post-mortem report. In the West, a doctor dissects corpses to identify the cause of death in an autopsy. But here in Japan, a police officer merely inspects the body and draws conclusions that way. Uh-oh. I agree. Oh, I see. As long as I'm not going to be tested on any of this later. He will be. This is a so-called photographic print of the scene of the crime. You can clearly discern scorch marks around the bullet hole produced by the powder explosion. In other words, we should assume that the victim was shot at close range. Yes. Thank you, Counsel. The court will accept this modern scientific evidence into the record. The photographic print of the victim has been entered into the court record. Oh yeah. So that's a photographic print. Well, that's something I've never seen before. It's clearly superior to a drawing. The detail's incredible. Very well. I am satisfied with your answers. I know, right? Let us start the trial. Certainly, Your Excellency. So without further ado, in order to better apprise the court with the facts of the case, the prosecution hereby calls its first witness, who was there at the scene of the crime when it happened. This is it then. Yep.
Don't even know who it is, but that's going to be the killer.
I think I may have worked out what the professor had in mind. The professor? You mean Dr. Mikotaba? Yes. Clearly you're the defense lawyer today, not me. But that doesn't mean... Well, I can still act as your assistant. Ah, of course. When he was speaking with me before, he simply said, Kazuma Asogi must not be the defense lawyer in this trial. He really has been sticking his oar in, hasn't he? He did it. I'm calling it. Maybe, but any help you can give me would be greatly appreciated, Kazuma. Well, my first piece of advice is, rein in that crazy look of bewilderment and control the cold sweats. Only if you rein in that crazy headband and control the cold stares first. The butler. Witness, state your name and occupation for the court, please. Of course. My name is Satoru Hosonaga. I am the head waiter at a Western-style restaurant called Le Carnival. Are you alright? You seem to be coughing up some, It's a regular occurrence. It doesn't really bother me.
Well, it really should. As everyone knows, the capital's southeastern quarter was developed for foreign visitors some years ago. It's become a very fashionable district now, full of hotels to accommodate overseas guests. This grim crime occurred in one of the district's so-called restaurants, an Occidental eatery, 3 days ago.
Occidental? Occidental? Understood, Hosonoga-san. You will kindly tell the court everything you can about the incident. At once, sir.
And no petty introductions from the aspiring lawyer boy, please.
He's enjoying this far too much. I feel like the butler should have the voice of Ignis.
Oh, aspiring maybe? But aspiring?
It was just after 2 p.m. on the day in question. We have a few diners at the time of day. The lunchtime rush was over, and there were only 3 tables still occupied.
That fits with my memory of it too. There was hardly anyone else in the place.
It was when I was in the kitchen putting away crockery and cutlery.
Sounds about right.
A gunshot rang out, so I hurried out to the dining area to see what had happened. I found the victim, an English gentleman, slumped in his chair. And standing immediately beside him, gun in hand, was the accused university student.
Yes! Hold on! Let me clarify something here. While I did pick up a gun that was found lying on the floor beside the professor, I didn't shoot him. I believe I have asked you to refrain from petty interjections. The court requires to listen to the witness's proof of what happened he saw, you amateur. But...
The next time you interrupt at an inappropriate time, you will be penalized, Defendant Naruhodo. Don't worry, Inosuke. You'll have your chance to fight back. For now, we just quietly listen to the witness.
If I may confirm one point, waiter. Standing beside the victim with a gun in his hand was the same man we see here in court today?
Yes, without question.
I see. And apart from the accused, was there anyone else standing beside the victim?
No. There was no one else around the table but the deceased Englishman and the university student.
Huh? Wait, what did he just say?
There was no one else around the table. What's the matter, Inosuke?
That's just not right.
When I went over to Dr. Wilson to say hello, there was a woman sitting opposite him at his table.
Really?
And that's not something the waiter could have missed. I've been warned about interjecting, but still, what should I do?
This could be crucial information, although...
I think patience for now. Let's see if we can wait it out. I desperately want to say something, but I was told not to interject.
Yonosuke.
If your parents tell you to study, you're the kind of man who would diligently get to work, aren't you?
I suppose I am. I've never got into...
Yume University otherwise. But you can't just always follow the rules in life, you know. If you don't say what you want to say right now, you'll seriously regret it when you're found guilty.
Alright, you've scared me. I won't forget that piece of advice in a hurry. And there is something I want to say. I'm just going to shut my eyes and say it. Yes! Just a moment, please. Dr. Wilson wasn't alone that day. I'm sure of it. There was a lady sitting with him at the same table.
Dear me, what are we going to do with you? With your blatant disregard for court proceedings, I'm beginning to wonder if you're not a fraud. Could it be that the accused, this mere student, is not a real lawyer after all? But I'm sure of what I saw. Hosonaga-san, is there any chance you're mistaken? Perhaps your memory of events is hazy. No. The deceased gentleman came to dine alone. I don't believe it. I actually have a rough plan of the restaurant as it was that day. Please, have a look if you'd like. Let me see. Ah, a sketch of the establishment's layout drawn by yourself, I presume. That's right. I'm afraid I used the back of my business card. It was a turbulent situation. However, as you can see, the gentleman in question was seated alone. Well, you're clearly a very conscientious waiter. Thank you, sir. The court will take this plan and add it to the court record as evidence. Oh, well. Is there a problem? Hand the plan to the court officer at once. Of course. Here you are. What was that about? He's been completely calm and collected until now. I think you should go to the hospital. So, Haikodachi. The court has now heard a précis of the event. A précis? Precise? I want to have a look at this. Interesting. I can see the symbols on the other side, but I don't know what they mean because they're not English, and I can't look at them because I can't move around. Kitchen entrance stuff. Nice. Dude's got TV. Yes. Yes, at the moment the gunshot was heard in the restaurant, the only person in close proximity to the victim was the defendant on trial today. It would seem we are looking at a black and white case here. Uh-oh. Defendant Naruhodo. Yes, Your Excellency. If you admit your guilt at this stage, the court is willing to look mercifully upon you. In other words, you may have some small reprieve in terms of your inevitable punishment. I called this waiter as an unsworn witness in order to explain the details of the case to the court. But I must warn the defense, if you are determined to pursue matters further in this trial, the prosecution has decisive evidence from sworn witnesses who were present at the scene of the crime. But that goes against what they just said. It was only those two. The fuck? What do you think I should do, Kazuma? What do you mean? Well, I'm going to be found guilty one way or another, it seems. Wouldn't it be sensible to plead guilty at this stage and hope for a more lenient sentence? Death stare. Everyone keeps telling me that this trial is unusual, about these peculiarities. You said it. Professor Mikatoba said it, and so is the judge in the prosecution. I'm scared of what lies ahead if I push this. As I said from the outset, I believe you're innocent. I trust you. And yet, despite knowing that, you're willing now to throw that trust back in my face? Is that it? What? If the accused is in fact innocent, then a defense lawyer is duty-bound to prove that innocence by whatever means necessary. Are you just going to abandon that duty? Are you going to give up on yourself? The battle hasn't even begun yet, Ryunosuke. The defense pleads not guilty, Your Excellency. We invite the prosecution to stop making empty threats and bring out its witnesses. Then we'll see just how decisive this evidence really is. Indeed. Prosecutor Ouchi, please continue with proceedings. Are they using Ouchi as like a... No. As an ouchie. Well, you were warned. The young can be so reckless. You know, many call me a saint, but I can be a devil when I want to be. In a few short moments from now, that dumbstruck young mouth of yours will be silenced forever. The prosecution calls its next witnesses. Very well. Officer, bring forth the witnesses at once. The fuck? Witnesses, kindly state your names and occupations for the court. Yes, sir. The Great Nippon Emperor's Army Sergeant Asa Noza reporting for duty, sir. Myself, I find employ as a purveyor of fine articles of antiquity from the efflorescence of our nation, Nippon, and conduct my trade from Rasute, a humble premises in the 2nd District. Kyuryo Korokuta, at your service. An antique dealer and a soldier? What an unusual pairing. Both of these gentlemen were present at the restaurant on the day in question. They must be the diners at the other table that the waiter mentioned. Myself, I habitually take tea of the most exquisite aroma at the establishment in question, always post-noon. And not infrequently converse with interested parties regarding the curious which I make my business. I can't understand the word that old man is saying. You must know that Naruhodo means, oh, I see, or of course. Ah, Naruhodo. He's an antique dealer, and it sounds like he's a regular at La Carnival. He seeks out potential customers who may have an interest in antiques and tries to sell his wares to them. He obviously targets La Carnival because of its high-class restaurant with rich clientele. Right, I see, although, to be honest, that sergeant looks more like he'd more a seller route than a buyer. Now, you both witnessed the precise moment of his most atrocious incident. Is that correct? Affirmative! The enemy unit was seen attacking the foreigner in what can only be described as an act of war, sir. It was that black uniformed rogue infantryman over there who unloaded his firearms, sir. This man's as impossible to understand as the other. See if I can give him a more, see if I can give him a more sergeantish voice, yes. But I'm almost sure I heard a strange noise during the last thing he said. So this is the decisive evidence the prosecution was threatening. The soldier is claiming that he actually saw the precise moment you shot the victim dead. Yes. Well, are you starting to feel uncomfortable? If I'm honest, I was feeling uncomfortable from the start. Now, the court will hear your formal testimony, please. You will state everything you saw at the precise moment that the incident occurred. Sir, yes, sir. Standing by. Ready to report, sir. Unsavory memories of a most acerbic afternoon. Thank you. What the witnesses saw. I was ingesting a regulation beef steak at the restaurant while having a tactical discussion with the old man. Acerbic. There you go.
Myself, I was extolling the virtues of a particularly fine golden curio to the military gentleman. At that precise moment, a firearm was discharged. I observed the enemy's actions with my own eyes. The black uniformed varsity cadets fired on the civilian, and from the back, the cowardly little weasel. Wait a second. I was on my hands and knees investigating the whereabouts of my mysteriously absconded precious curio.
I've already spotted the first contradiction.
Can you object?
Well, if you can't object, then you can't object. So this man is innocent. Well, so you, Sergeant Nosa, actually witnessed the vital moment. You saw the split second when the defendant fired the weapon at the victim.
Yes, sir. Affirmative, sir.
The fuck?
That wicked university cadet, sir. The cruel and unforgivable enemy. What times we live in, when an English gentleman may be assailed in the broad light of day. But this is ridiculous. I didn't shoot anyone.
Is that really true, Ryunosuke?
Yes. All I did was pick up the gun that I saw lying on the floor.
Like a moron.
After I said hello to Dr. Wilson, I went back to my table and sat drinking some coffee. Then, when I'd finished, I got up from my seat to leave the restaurant, when I noticed an English-made gun next to the chair where the professor was sitting. Ah! I thought perhaps the professor had dropped it. So I bent down, and just as I was picking it up, bang! Well, if that's the truth, there was obviously a criminal on the scene somewhere. And somewhere in these two witnesses' testimonies, there's a clue as to who that criminal was. There is? Ryunosuke, you must exercise your right to cross-examine the witnesses. Cross-examine? Do it now! Do it now! Do it now! Or taste my squirrely wrath! As you have heard, Your Excellency, there is no room for doubt in the testimony of these witnesses. The defendant is clearly guilty. It is time to bring this despicable student to justice. Certainly. The testimony the court has just heard eliminates any vestige of doubt. Therefore, it is my grave duty to declare the verdict of this... What in the name of the Emperor is the meaning of this outburst? The defense demands its right to a cross-examination. Dear me, dear me. Let me guess. The Hachimaki headband boy next door told me to do it? How pathetic. Huh? How do you know? The prosecution objects. This is a clear waste of time. The defendant obviously has no experience. How can he possibly carry out a cross-examination?
Objection!
The defense is asserting its right to a cross-examination. Whether or not you think he is capable of it is irrelevant. Ooh. Kazuma is so commanding. Very well. Let the defense conduct a cross-examination of the witnesses. Alright, this is where the battle really begins, Ryunosuke. But I don't even know what I have to do in a cross-examination. Isn't it obvious? You have to expose the lies in the witnesses' statements. How? You didn't fire the gun, which means what that soldier said had to be a lie. Well, yes, but... commanding and sexy. Lol. It's just a case of proving it, and the key to doing that is... evidence. Right. Evidence. All you need to do is present some decisive and indisputable evidence that proves the witness is lying.
Now let's go, Rinosuke. Don't let them beat you. Alright then. It's all or nothing. He doesn't yet have the desk slam. It was like Apollo Justice, kind of. I was ingesting a regulation beef steak at the restaurant while having a tactical discussion with the old man.
Yes!
Why aren't you saying anything? Is there some new interrogation technique? I hadn't actually thought of what I wanted to ask. Just ask about anything that catches your attention. Anything that bothers you. Alright then. How was the steak? This beef steak you mentioned. What kind of food is that? Attention! Beef steak is a delicious cut of veal, vigorously cooked on the cast iron grill and served piping hot. Oh. If food could receive medals of honor, beef steak would almost as certainly be decorated. Beef steak would be almost as highly decorated as a cutlet. Right, I see. Thank you, sir. So, next question. This cutlet you mentioned, what kind of food is that? Attention! Cutlet is a delicious cut of veal tossed in breadcrumbs and deep fried in coconut oil. Accept your guilty verdicts, atone for your crimes, and when you are released from prison, try it! Yes, sir. I will, sir. On the level, sir. Sorry to interrupt, but how about trying to stick to questions that are relevant to the case? Oops. Sorry. I'll do my best. So, next question. Is it just me, or do you keep hearing a sort of wah crying noise? Negative. Well, at least we've learned that he's a big beef lover. Affirmative. It's not easy knowing what questions to ask. Prime Presser. Lul. Myself, I was extolling the virtues of a particularly fine golden curio to the military gentleman.
Yes!
Yes. I have no idea what you're talking about. A caban boy. A caban? You mean like an old Edo coin? The day prior to the incident, a treasure of exceptional value from the Heisei period entered my possession. I took myself to the restaurant that following day with the said item secreted in my bosom pocket, in the hope of an affluent cognizant appraised of its indisputable value being present. Cognoscient? Cognoscent? No idea. Thank you. So, you were hoping to sell your caban coin to Sergeant Noza, whom you met at the restaurant? Yes, yes. It's quite clear where you're going with this, boy. You're about to assert that a penniless soldier would have no hope of purchasing a precious caban. Isn't that so? Well... You little upstart cadet! You want to add disrespecting a superior officer to your list of crimes, do you? Blatant subordination! I think he means insubordination. Cognoscenti versus intelligentsia. No, I didn't say anything. Although painless might be a justified word I was looking for. In any case, the hour was already advanced beyond that military luncheon. There remained precious few present with whom I could engage in discourse about matters of business. The gentleman assigned me, who was grappling with his braised veal at the time, was my sole prospect. I see. At the precise moment a firearm was discharged, I observed the enemy's actions with my own eyes.
Yes!
So, you're saying that you actually saw me at the time? Affirmative! I saw you! Laughing, cackling, like a madman as you trained the barrel of your gun on you this civilian. That's impossible! I only... Allow me to confirm just one point, please. What's that, Private? Thinking carefully about the statement you just made, it seems to me that it must have been just after you heard the gunshot that you looked at the victim's table. And so what if it was? Well, if that really is the case, it would mean that you didn't in fact see the precise moment when the killer actually fired the gun. And double guard! Who is this, Dick Dastardly? My sixth... my sixth sense! Sorry. My sixth sense of danger. I picked up the waves of the murderous energy radiating from your foul mind. Which means, a split second before you pulled the trigger, I was looking right at you, Cadet. Surely that's not really possible, is it? Do you think I'd have gotten to where I am today in the army if I couldn't sense danger in the air, son? Well, it would seem the soldier is absolutely convinced that he saw you do the deed. This is not good. The black uniformed varsity cadets fired an English gentleman, and from the back, you cowardly little weasel. I think instead of pressing, I'm just going to go straight in. From the back, he was shot from the front. Present!
Yes!
Not objection. What are you playing at, Cadet? What is the meaning of this insubordination? Subordination. First thing, some photographic print in my mustache. Inconsistency, sir. I mean, yes. There's a clear inconsistency here. Just what nonsense. What can this print possibly tell us that we don't already know? Well, obviously, that, I know what I wanted to say, but the words just won't come out of my mouth. I think this proves beyond any doubt, Your Excellency, that there is no place for an amateur student here in this grand courtroom. This is so frustrating. Oh, please. Surely this doesn't require an explanation. It couldn't be more plain. To spell it out would be an insult to the court. Kazuma? What? What are you talking about? It's apparent from a single glance at the photographic print presented by the defense that there's a clear discrepancy here and with the sergeant's statement. What? Sergeant Iasanoza. Now I get his name. Nope. Yes, sir. What's up? Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, sir. No, sir. No. The statement you just made was this. The black uniformed varsity cadet fired on the English civilian and from the back, you cowardly little weasel. Yes, sir. Affirmative, sir. I witnessed the crime with my own military-grade eyes, sir.
Yes!
But no! That just can't be! And why not, cadet? Because... Take a close look at the print. The victim, Dr. Wilson, died from a bullet wound to the chest. Ah. Sergeant, according to your witness statement, the culprit shot the victim from behind. And that is the obvious discrepancy here. Well, how do you explain it? Oh, well, the fuck? What was that? Something just popped up from behind his back, but he pushed it back down again. Certainly, there is a clear discrepancy with the facts here. Would you not agree, Sergeant Noza?
Yes, sir. At this juncture, that would appear to be indisputable. Until the moment I heard the firearm discharge, my eyes were firmly fixed on the delicious The Carnival steak, sir. What?
The last testimony the court heard has proven one thing beyond all reasonable doubt. This witness, Sergeant Yasa Noza, did not see the defendants firing the gun at all.
That's absurd.
I think the conclusion we must draw is simple. There is no place for an amateur prosecutor here in this grand courtroom.
Oh!
There's been a complete turnabout in the mood of this trial, just from that one discrepancy. So this is what being an ace attorney is all about.
But I definitely saw him. That university cadet there, he was pointing the firearm directly at the victim's back.
Yes!
But I never fired the gun. All I did was pick it up off the floor.
And you, old man, you didn't see the moment the victim was shot either?
Myself, I have already been quite clear. The gunshot interested me not. I was far too busy on the floor.
Too busy on the floor? Sorry, what were you doing?
Hunting for treasure.
Treasure?
Indeed, the Huayra Caban, my prized coin. On each occasion when I visit that restaurant, it is my habitude to place in my bosom pocket a particular trinket of interest from my shop racete.
In the hope of meeting a rich diner who might like to buy it from you?
On the day under scrutiny, it was to the military man that I proffered my Huay treasure. Believe that he would purchase such a rare find, I did not, but I was presented with little alternative. And then, after averting my eyes for the briefest of moments, it was there no more. It simply vanished.
The caban vanished? Vanished, yes.
Hunting around under the table, I was, in case mayhap it had fallen there, and then it happened.
I'm losing track of these voices too easily. You heard the gunshot, you mean?
Indeed I did, but I heeded it not, for I was concerned only with finding my absconded Huay treasure. Nothing could distract me.
Out of interest, did you find the coin in the end?
No.
I see.
That lamentable day, the precious Huay Caban was lost to me. No doubt some unscrupulous scoundrel pocketed the prize coin for himself.
As I am sure everyone present is aware, this case demands a swift and decisive resolution. Our government has promised to send a full report to Great Britain by telegraph this very afternoon. Nevertheless, the witness testimony the court has just heard was inconclusive, no matter how subservient our government feels it must be to the British. It would be unforgivable to deliver a verdict on this trial right now. What is your position, Prosecutor Ouchie?
Worry not, Your Excellency. The defendant may have fled a tiger from the front gate, but he will find a wolf at the back. My witnesses have further testimony to make.
Explain.
Upon hearing their next statements, it will become abundantly clear that there is only one person who could have possibly committed this despicable crime.
the equally despicable defendant, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. What? He really seems to have a despicable opinion of you, doesn't he? Very well. The court invites the witnesses to testify again. You will thoroughly explain the reasoning behind the prosecution's allegation. Is that clear?
As clear as Kiriko glass, Your Excellency. Yes, sir. At once, sir. Awaiting signal to testify, sir.
Excuse me, but there's something or someone peeking out over your shoulder, I think.
Affirmative. The newest member of the Noza family to rise up through the ranks. Sir. Name, Aido.
Aido Noza.
You're in the army now, Private, I don't know.
It would seem those straps are a sign of the sergeant being too strapped to afford a nanny.
Aido, attention! Your father is about to quell the enemy. Watch and learn, my boy.
Ew. The true culprit.
Even if what I saw wasn't the precise moment the firearm was discharged, it's almost the same thing. Yes, pointing his gun at the fallen man he was, that young lad in black, that much I myself did see. Furthermore, a visual search of the premises at the time confirmed that we were the only personnel present. Indeed, alone he was, the Englishman, dining all by himself. Therefore, no one other than the black uniformed cadets could have dispatched the Englishman. Over and out.
These testimonies are certainly...
Wait, that's nonsense. The victim, Dr. Wilson, wasn't alone at all. Please, enough of these outbursts already. But there was a woman. There was a young woman at his table. You must have seen her. Everyone there must have seen her. Attention! If you call yourself a lawyer, then you will respect the rules of the court and speak accordingly. We are not here to listen to your fantasies. It is evident beyond all reasonable doubt that the victim was alone at the time of the incident. The prosecution has photographic evidence of this fact.
Is this photographic print of the sign of the crime council?
Indeed, of the table at which the victim was dining, taken by an investigator immediately after the incident. As can plainly be seen, there is only one place set.
Certainly, based on the appearance of this print. It would be reasonable to conclude that the victim was not in the company of anyone else.
This doesn't make any sense.
The court will add this new photographic evidence to the record.
I don't understand. What's going on here? It's just not possible that nobody else saw that woman. The waiter before said the same thing.
He maintains that Dr. Wilson came to the restaurant alone as well.
But that's not true. I saw her. I swear that I saw a woman with him.
It would seem that we'll be able to telegraph the report to Great Britain on time after all. The witnesses' testimonies we have just heard leave no further room for doubt.
These are very sensitive political times, as we all know. The ink is still fresh on the treaty with Great Britain.
So the contradiction we found earlier is now suddenly nothing.
To think that I, Taketsuchi Aochi, will have contributed to the amity of these two great empires is an honor. How can this be happening? The judge is ready to rule.
Stand tall, Ryunosuke. It's not over yet. If what you say is true, then there's something going on here behind the scenes. And now is your chance to expose it, to draw out the truth in your cross-examination. I don't know, Kazuma. The defense is entitled to cross-examine the witnesses, but make it quick, understood? Tisk rules can be so unbending at times. Even if what I saw wasn't the precise moment the firearm was discharged, it's almost the same thing. Meh. Yes, pointing his gun at the foreign man he was, that young looking in black, that much I could see for myself. Furthermore, a visual search of the premises at the time confirmed that we were the only personnel present. Okay. Indeed, alone he was, the Englishman dining all by himself. Therefore, no one other than the black uniform cadet could have dispatched the Englishman, no doubt. Let's go back to the third one. What do you think, Kunosuke? What's the matter? I can't find anything. I can't find a clear discrepancy anywhere. I'm done for. I can't win this trial. No. Listen, the first thing to do is calm down. You can't expect witness statements to be full of holes every time. So just take your time and try to tease more information out of them first. What do you mean? You can choose to either press or present against each of the witness's statements. If a witness is saying something you're suspicious about, press him on it with Q. With a little luck, you may get more details, which could prove to be crucial. Right, I see. The important point is there's no sense in holding back. If anything is even slightly jazzed with you, press the witnesses on it and press them hard. Alright, got it. Press them like blocks of tofu. The professor wasn't alone in the restaurant, I'm sure of it. One way or another, this cross-examination is going to prove I'm right. It's time to press them for all they're worth. My fate depends on it. Even what I say is...
Yes!
No, it's not the same thing at all. For a start, I didn't fire that gun. We have a difference of opinion on that. The opinion is of a uniformed officer versus that of a fledgling cadet. I don't think so. Consider this, defendant. Just a moment ago, I blinked. Did you? Did you see it? Did you see me blink? How could I? And yet, it is an undeniable fact that I did blink. So there you have it. Have what? Attention! The sound of the firearm rang in my ears. The very next moment, I saw you waving the gun at the Englishman. I think that says it all, don't you? Whose food was that's behind the body? Interesting. Why was he facing away from it? And let's not forget that the antiques dealer witnessed the accused of this most incriminating position as well. Isn't that so, Korokoto-san? Yes, punching his gun at the foreign man he was, that young man in black, that much I did see.
Yes!
Yes, it may be true that I was holding the gun at that point in time. But I told you already, that's only because I'd picked it up off the floor. Well, obviously, as the culprit, that's the only way you could explain it away. I had just finished drinking my coffee and I was about to leave the restaurant when I noticed a gun on the floor at Mr. Wilson's feet, so I picked it up. And at exactly that moment, bang. A gunshot rang in my ears.
Full of events beyond our control, life is. Sorry, what do you mean? In your case, you found a pistol on the floor and picked it up, which precipitated this testing predicament. Whereas conversely, I failed to pick up the command from the floor and found myself in an equally testing predicament as a result. As anyway, the fact remains, myself, I did see you. With pistol in hand, standing over the foreigner. Furthermore, a visual search of the premises at the time confirmed that we were the only personnel present.
Yes!
You must have noticed someone else at Dr. Wilson's table. There was a lady there.
Objection!
As you have been pains to point out time and again, I feel I'm growing a callus in my ear. And yet, no one else appears to have caught even a glimpse of this woman. I feel there'd been more people dining there at the time and someone else would have noticed her. Unfortunately, it was already past 2 p.m. when it happened. The quiet time between lunch and dinner in any restaurant. I know, of course the place was almost empty. It's what you'd expect. Certainly, 2 p.m. is neither here nor there in terms of time to eat. I wonder if there was a reason why the victim was eating at that time of day, and why he was alone. Yes, Your Excellency, there was indeed a reason. There was? This was found in the victim's jacket pocket.
What is that, Counsel?
It is a medical report card, Your Excellency. It would seem that the victim had an appointment at a clinic prior to visiting the restaurant.
Hotel clinic, yes? That would indeed appear of entry in the date in question. 19th of November, noon to past 1 p.m. The very day of the incident. So the victim went for a late lunch following his late appointment.
The explanation couldn't be more simple. The prosecution felt no need to submit this evidence before, as it really has no bearing on this case.
Or does it? I wonder. What do you think, Runoski?
Well, it is hard to see how it could be related, really.
Remember, you can request for it to be entered into the court record as evidence if you think it could be useful. Should I ask for Dr. Wilson's medical report card to be submitted as evidence or not?
Yes.
Yes!
If I may, I'd like to ask for that medical report card to be submitted as evidence, Your Excellency.
On what grounds?
The court had already heard conclusive witness testimony. Additional evidence would be extraneous. Not to mention that the victim's movements prior to his arrival at the restaurant are of no concern. Whether or not they are of concern is up to us to decide. We have the right to explore all possible avenues. I beg your pardon? You have no authority to refuse a perfectly valid request for the submission of evidence.
Very well. The court will grant the defense's request.
Youngsters these days are forever asserting their rights. It's a most disturbing trend.
True. Officer, kindly add the victim's medical report card to the court record.
Can't really look at that. What we need right now is new clues.
We have to explore things from every possible angle, even if they don't seem relevant at first.
Right, I hear you. You can conspire to prolong this trial as much as you like, but it's the day after the festival already brought for you. Well, what? But it's the day after the festival already for you. There we go. Or perhaps you'd forgotten that these witnesses' testimonies leave no room for doubt. Feel free to reiterate you for the accused, Kurikuruka-san. Indeed, alone he was, the Englishman, dining all by himself.
Yes!
So you actually saw that with your own eyes, did you?
The victim, Dr. Wilson, dying alone.
That I did. Forgive me for the position I placed you in. So the testimonies of the old man, the soldier, and the waiter all agree on that point. Isn't that interesting? And let us not forget the incontestable evidence we have to support their statements as well.
This chair is facing away from the table.
As can clearly be seen, there is only a single beef steak on the victim's table, a meal for one. Hang on, wasn't the sergeant having the steak? True. The antiques dealer, the sergeant, and the waiter who testified before. It's not impossible that they're all lying. But if so, then why? If I'm perfectly honest, I have absolutely no idea. Therefore, no one other than the black uniformed cadets could have dispatched the Englishman. Over and out.
Yes!
Cough it up. Why aren't you telling the truth? What did you say, cadet? I clearly remember. There was a woman sitting across the table from the professor. Perhaps one of you might not have noticed. But for both of you to have failed to see the professor's dining companion, it's just not possible. Unfortunately for you, Defendant Naruhodo, it's just not a case of these two witnesses alone. Sorry? The waiter whose testimony the court heard earlier clearly stated the same thing. He also said that the victim was alone. That's right. Precisely. In other words, you are the sole proponent of this phantom lady. But I... If such a woman were indeed present at the scene, the prosecution demands to see proof. And if no such proof exists, the prosecution demands that no further mention of this phantom woman be made. It is a blatant waste of the court's time. There's nothing I can say to that. Excellent work, Runetscape. We've gleaned some new information now. Well, yes, but I don't feel like it changes much. I can't see that it brings any real discrepancies to light. I wouldn't be so sure. Let me see that medical report card you got before. Oh, you mean this? Yes, this is a brand new piece of evidence. So perhaps we should examine it in a little more detail. How exactly? You'll notice that some pieces of evidence bear a magnifying glass. These are the ones you may examine. Press space and you can take a closer look at the piece of evidence in question. Ah, okay. Okay. So, partner, I think you should take a closer look at this medical report card. See if there isn't something new to be learned by examining it in more detail. Alright, I'll see what I can do. Let's have a look. This is some kind of medical history. Ah, there's an entry for the day the professor was killed. Extraction of molar with topical anesthesia. Extraction of molar? You mean he had a tooth taken out? It would seem so. Just before the incident, he had a bad tooth removed.
Perhaps they use laughing gas. It's the most modern practice in the West for pain relief. Yes, I've heard of this anesthesia. Though it's hard to believe there's anything like that can actually stop you feeling pain. Ah, there's a cautionary note from the medical practitioner as well. Strictly no food or drink besides water for 3 hours post-procedure, until anesthetic effects have passed. Really? Sounds like information worth bearing in mind. With this new information, the meaning of one particular statement totally changes. So I think it's time we listen to the testimony again, don't you? Definitely. This raises a number of questions, I think. It's supposed to show the relative position of everything in the moments following the incident. But there's nothing to show the woman you say you saw. Exactly, and that's not all. Look here in the upper left where it says kitchen. Oh yes, what of it? No one would use those complicated characters to write kitchen, especially not if they were in a hurry. You mean you don't remember those characters yourself, don't you? Study harder, Inosuke. Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, Primary Criminal Division, Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. Well, that's unexpected. What is? Look, do you see it says the witness's name here? Satoru Hosonaga? Hello, Doffel. Welcome. Well, yes, business cards do tend to show the person's name, that's sort of the point. It's not the name that's unexpected. It's his job title. His job? Oh. Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. Inspector? What on earth? I have no idea. But let's face it, the police have a lot of power and influence. If they're wielding it somehow here. The waiter's business card. Every time I see the word inspector now, it just reminds me of Broken Sword. Inspector. Now. Nope. Nope. No. That one is now false. Yes! Because he wasn't eating. Inspector Mu. Oui. Well, I think, About what are you wittering, lad? Call yourself a lawyer? I wish I could, but first and foremost here, I'm the accused. Unosuke. Everyone stumbles on their words occasionally. Under the circumstances, I wouldn't worry about it. Thanks, Kazuma. I could see it quite clearly from that cross-examination you just carried out. When you raised your hand straight up like that, you so purposefully. You knew exactly what it was you wanted to say. Don't feel like you have to choose your words carefully. Just say what you're thinking. Alright. And thanks for the advice. Korikoto-san, this is a medical report card belonging to the victim. Ah, I see. And? I don't see... what of it, boy? Comparing what is written on his report card with your witness statement. Something clearly doesn't add up. Objection! Dear me, have you forgotten my words so soon, you amateur? Sorry, what? You are not to interrupt court proceedings with your amateurish drivel. But let's see if I can explain in words you might understand. It was after 2 p.m. in the afternoon when the victim was murdered at the restaurant. Whatever he may or may not have done before that time is completely irrelevant. Grr, but that's, It's not true. Remember, Inosuke, you don't have to use clever language or fancy words. Just make your point.
Your Excellency, I believe we are finished here. There is surely no need to prolong this trial further. The witness testimonies the court has heard have been clear and concise. This medical report card has no bearing on the matter at all, for the simple reason that there is no one else besides this pale-faced pupil who could have possibly... He did it. He slammed the desk. This medical report card has nothing to do with the case? Do you really believe that? What? That outburst half petrified me, boy. Of course I believe it. How could it possibly be relevant? Perhaps because Hotta Clinic, which issued the report card, is a dental clinic. A dental clinic? Is that supposed to mean something to me? Perhaps if I told you that the victim had just had a tooth extracted? What's this now? And furthermore, if I told you that as a result the victim had been forbidden from eating... Just what are you trying to say, cadet? He had orders not to eat, so what? It's all written up in here. No food or drink other than water for 3 hours post-procedure while anesthesia wears off. What? No, that can't. Kodakuta-san. What, boy? What? As you just heard, when he was killed sometime shortly after 2 p.m., the victim couldn't have been eating anything at all. No. Additionally, there's more. You have assured the court with some unwavering self-confidence that the victim was dining alone. But that cannot possibly be the case. Grrr. Because the victim, as we now know, had just had one of his teeth extracted and was still experiencing the effects of the anesthetic. Expertly done, partner.
Objection!
What is this nonsense, you little upstart? These are baseless accusations. Just look at the photographic evidence. You can clearly see the plates of food at the victim's table.
Objection!
Use your head. That's the very discrepancy we're talking about. Or can't you follow the logic? How dare you? I think it's fair to say that the tables in this restaurant, in this case, have turned. Wouldn't you agree, Urinosuke? Yes, most definitely. So having just undergone some dental surgery, the victim was unable to eat. Which leaves one very crucial conundrum. Who in fact was eating the pictured beef steak? The court will hear the opinion of the defense in this new puzzle. I assume you're ready, counsel? Counsel? Oh, that means me, doesn't it? Alright, the answer to this question is going to be pivotal. This is the start of you turning this trial around. Show them what you're made of. Got it? So, person eating the steak at the victim's table must have been... So it's definitely not the victim, definitely not him because he was only there for coffee. 2 witnesses, no, because they wouldn't have been eaten together. And yet, unknown threat, it's usually the case. Obviously, it couldn't have been someone else who was sitting at the professor's table.
Objection!
You will not let this go, will you? There was no such person. Yes. There was, because I saw her. When the incident occurred, we know that the victim couldn't have been eating anything. Yet we have evidence of a half-eaten steak on his table. Therefore, the only logical conclusion is that there was someone else there eating it. We have strong evidence to support our assertion. It's clear that these witnesses' testimonies are unreliable. If the court decides to push through a ruling at this stage, we will lodge a formal complaint with the Ministry of Justice and pursue a fair retrial relentlessly. Kazuma. Are you insane? You would take on the government? Don't worry, Counsel. I have no issue with you. What do you mean? I have issue with them! Those two witnesses in the stand! What? What are you talking about? We have demonstrated with evidence that the victim was not alone. So if this now turns out that the two of you deliberately lied when giving your testimonies, obviously you will be charged with perjury. Perjury? And since this is a murder trial, you will also be deemed complicit in the killing. Complicit? In murder? No, no, no! Hold it. Negative. There was no mention of this at the tactical meeting. I was just following orders. That's right, as the man says. Just say you never saw the gentlewoman. That's what they told us. Uh-oh. Oh. What? Or as Hades would say, what? What did you just say, Karakuta-san? Hello, Yasita. Wie geht es dir? Willkommen. I do like trying to put different voices on. The problem is I keep changing them. I can't do them consistently. Oh, no. You were just following orders? Now, hold on, lad. I was, Say you never saw the gentlewoman. Grrr. When you say gentlewoman, do you mean you saw the victim with a lady from overseas? What?
Attention!
What is the meaning of all this? These witnesses gave false statements? Is this true, you pair? Just one simple slip of the tongue. Yeah, sure. Order! Order! Counsel, explain what is going on here. It's painfully clear now. You tried to prevent these witnesses from telling the truth. Absolutely not. The prosecution knows nothing of this. Oh, he's lost it again. Then who's behind this? Who tried to make you keep your mouth shut? Well, that's classified. So you're prepared to be tried as a conspirator to the murder, are you? You wouldn't. This can't be happening. You're not scared. Judging from the way they're reacting to this, I'd say they were sworn to silence by someone of considerable influence. However, I don't believe Aoshi had any idea of it. What are you saying? I mean, to wield that kind of influence, there are only a handful of possibilities. It could only have been the government, the military, or the police, I suppose. Well, any ideas about who might be behind this? If we can affirm who tried to silence these witnesses, then we can continue our pursuit. So we need to name whoever it was who tried to make the witnesses keep their mouths shut. Of course, we'll need evidence before we make any firm accusations. Could it have been Ham? Because it says he's an authority. He's an authority. Probably not. The butler. Because he's actually a policeman. Of course, we'll need evidence before we make any firm accusations. Evidence that proves whoever it was really did wield his or her power here. But how? How can we possibly? The evidence, of course. Remember how we made progress before? We examined this piece of evidence in more detail and found a new clue as a result. Oh yes, that's right. That's not the only piece of evidence we have, is it? We need to re-examine everything and make sure there's nothing we've missed. It's a good thing I checked that card! There's no time to lose. I want answers.
If it's proven that these witnesses have been manipulated, I assure you the penalty will be severe.
Please, wait! Your Excellency! I had no idea about any of this! I swear to every Shinto god! I knew nothing!
And what does the defense have to say about all this?
Well, Your Excellency? No time to think. I'm just gonna have to close my eyes and shout out the first name that comes to my head.
Pico?
Besides the prosecution, the only person with necessarily influence to manipulate these witnesses is the butler. Because he's not a butler. Well, maybe a butler, but the waiter.
Yes!
Yes, sir. Well, surely that would be Satoru Hosonaga-san.
Hosonaga-san? The waiter who took the stand earlier?
Objection!
Poppycock! What possible reason would the waiter have to make these witnesses give false testimony? The butler really did do it.
Even though he's not really a butler. I just called him a butler.
But he looks like a butler, even though he's a head waiter. Not to mention the fact that even a head waiter could not possibly have that level of influence. For once, I would agree with you.
But if that is, the man who truly were a waiter.
What? If he truly were?
Come on, Ryosuke. Time to hit this court with the truth.
The truth about Satoru Hosonaga-san's real identity as proven by this evidence.
Yes!
The plan of the restaurant sketched by the man in question? I agree, it shows a great deal of attention to detail, but I'm not sure we can conclude anything.
Sorry, Your Excellency, that's the back of the card. It's the back of the card that's of interest.
I beg your pardon?
Or perhaps I should have said the front. Yes, it's the front of the back of the card. That's where the telling detail is.
Will somebody please explain what this overexcited student is trying to say?
Turn the card over!
Hosonaga-san sketched the plan of the restaurant on the reverse side of his business card. The front of that business card reveals the man in question's profession, his true profession. The waiter's profession. That's surely... Good gracious!
That's right, Your Excellency. The card reads, Chief Inspector, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. What? The waiter is a police detective? I haven't heard any mention of this before. Why haven't I heard any mention of this before? The Imperial Police Bureau has immense power. Absolute power as far as regular civilians are concerned.
So, witnesses there in the stand.
Was it in fact the waiter who gave you your orders? Was it he who told you not to mention that you'd seen this foreign gentlewoman at the scene?
Well...
Hold it! Inspector Hosonaga.
I was worried something like this may happen. The moment you asked me to submit my sketch as evidence, I realized it was a possibility.
The court will take this plan and add it to the court record as evidence.
Well...
Is there a problem? Hand the plans to the court officer at once.
Of course. Here you are.
Yes, I remember now. He did act strangely when the judge asked him to hand over his business card. I strive to carry out all investigations flawlessly. It's my guiding principle. But I let myself be distracted when I made that sketch.
It was an unusually careless mistake.
So, you mean to say you really are a detective? But why would a detective be working at a restaurant waiter?
Ah, of course, your salary must be I was working undercover. Undercover? Yes. There have been a series of incidents at the restaurant recently. In order to investigate, I decided to get a job there as a waiter, working undercover. Incidents at the restaurant? What kind of incidents? That would be classified police information, which I am not at liberty to divulge. However, I can state categorically that they are unrelated to the case of homicide. Very well then. Inspector Hosonaga, but you will elaborate on one point for the court. Of course, Your Excellency. We have just heard new information from the two witnesses beside you. That at the time of the shooting, there was in fact another person present at the victim's table. If that is indeed true, clearly you would also have been aware of this person's presence, having served at the table in question. However, your testimony did not allude to this other diner, therefore I am led to assume that in your professional capacity as a police officer, you required these witnesses to be in agreement. Would that be correct? Correct, Your Excellency. Unbelievable. As I suspected. Bang. As soon as I heard the gunshot, I ran out of the kitchen to see what had happened. The victim sat slumped in his chair, and beside him, gun in hand, stood the accused student. Sitting opposite the victim at the same table was a young lady, whom I guessed to be an English woman. So the truth comes out. I immediately sealed off the restaurant and reported the incident to the bureau. It was then that I received some special orders. Special orders? You mean to say, remove the Englishwoman from the scene at once. It was made clear that the Englishwoman's presence at the restaurant was to be concealed. Those were my orders. But what if this Englishwoman was the killer? I think it would be in everyone's best interest not to pursue that idea. The Empire views the friendly terms of its relationship with Britain more highly than anything at the moment. An Englishman has been murdered on our soil. To name an Englishwoman as the primary suspect? Well, without irrefutable evidence, that would be completely out of the question. So that's the reason for the disappearance of the phantom woman in this case. But it's not right! One possibility does spring to mind. What do you mean, Kazuma? Yume University is currently hosting a number of exchange students from Great Britain, and I'm fairly certain that one of them, studying in the medical faculty's research laboratory, is a young English woman. What? You're a shrewd man. I can see why you're the chosen candidate for the overseas study tour. You mean, when I removed the woman from the scene of the crime, I thought it prudent to check her identity first. Then the court demands that you name the lady in question at once, Inspector. The Englishwoman sitting at the university's professor table was a certain Miss Giselle Libret. She is indeed a foreign student studying in the research laboratory of Yume's University's medical facility. What is happening here? I admit that under orders from the police bureau, I erased all evidence of this lady's presence at the scene, and ordered these witnesses to make no mention of her in their testimonies. It must now be up to your excellency to decide how to deal with this situation. Very well. My thoughts on the matter are as follows. Thus far, the case presented to the court has been underpinned by a particular critical premise. Namely, the victim was dining alone. However, as we have now discovered that this premise is false, it would be a desecration of our justice system to ignore the truth and give a ruling at this point. Giselle Brett, yes. If that's a pun, if that's a name twist I'm missing out on it, I understand not. Oh, I see. That would mean missing the noon deadline of a ruling in order to send a telegraphic report to Great Britain. Our own government will surely be very displeased by such actions. Calm yourself, Counsel. I will not allow the government of our country or any other to influence the proceedings in my courtroom. Inspector Hosonaga. Yes, sir. You will locate this Giselle Brett and escort her to the courtroom with utmost urgency. At once, Your Excellency. But that means you'll be going against the special orders you were given from the police bureau. As I said before, it is my guiding principle to carry out all investigations flawlessly. So it won't be a problem. Nothing will get in my way. Clearly. Court will adjourn briefly. Prosecution must call the English student Giselle Brett to the witness stand. Dr. Watson left the army after being shot by a Giselle bullet in Afghanistan, and Sherlock Holmes was played in the ITV series by Jeremy Brett. Lol. So they're using a lot of Sherlock Holmes references, I'm guessing. Do I make myself clear? Yes. Your Excellency! Good. Then we will have a 30-minute recess before reconvening. That is actually perfect timing, because I'm expected to join a group shortly, so I shall have to call a ending to proceedings there, so... I shall save the progress there, and we shall reconvene next time. Potentially tomorrow, if all goes well. Maybe. But that is the end of part 1 of the epic Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. So quite interesting. I'm now thinking that it wasn't actually the waiter/policeman, because he was under orders to mess with the crime scene for some reason. So maybe there's something deeper going on here. We'll have to find out what happens afterwards. But until then, we shall call it there, and I shall see you next time. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you have a lovely evening. This is Renzo Lightning, signing off.